Hey, how's it guys, Munash here, and today we have a full Alliance War video. I think it's been a while since I've made one of these, so this is definitely long overdue because I've been having a pretty interesting season, I must say, and I have a lot of cool fights to showcase. So today we got a pretty jam-packed war. Running Mr. Negative as usual. He's actually probably been my most used champ this season. And today we're running Professor X as well, which is quite rare. I don't usually get to use him in Alliance War, but we do have some pretty interesting fights for him. And then we have the rank 4 Doom as well, because yeah, he's just really strong. So yeah, we're gonna do a few Doom fights as well. So starting off on part 6, we have a Yellowjacket with combat, deja vu, prowess, and spiked armor. So X is a pretty good counter for this since he actually doesn't make contact with most of his hits. So spiked armor really isn't an issue, and then combat deja vu just means you have to alternate your combos unless you don't mind playing with more prowesses, which is not really an issue as long as you don't get hit by special attacks. So pretty simple fight for him. Typically I might use negative or any other champ who can get it done quickly, but yeah, not really a big deal because it's not too niche of a fight. And so now we get to the special 3, which means the fight is pretty much over. So we get the mind control, good special 3 damage, and I am running some mutant power boost, so we get a good amount of power back. And with mind control, with that refund, we get enough to get another special 3 ready. And yeah, just carry on hitting the special 3 button, and that's the cheese. That's pretty much it for this fight. Nothing you can do about it, you know, he's power locked, he's special locked, and yeah, I've got 3 bars of power pretty much constantly until he goes down. Fight duration was about 80 seconds, but half of that is just watching the special 3 animation. And that's pretty typical for Professor X fights in Alliance War when you're boosted right. So we got 2 more fights for him this war, but next up we have a quick little Doom fight. And I was a bit concerned here because I thought I was having connection issues. It took a bit of time for the game to actually respond. Like I actually cut out a bit of time here, but eventually it did go through. So now we're gonna move on to an Anus with aggression, prowess, and critical setup. So this is a very easy fight, especially for Doom. Like I actually don't even understand why they changed the nodes here, because critical setup usually just helps you. I don't know, unless you're fighting a champ who punishes you for guaranteed crits like Ebony Maw. But why would you place Ebony Maw here? Like, he's so much more deserving of a better node. Even Kitty Pryde, as she's also attacked defender, but she has some very easy counters as well. But either way, the node is also just very easy to play around. So we're taking Annihilus with Doom today, so the nodes really don't matter for this one. They actually made the fight easier overall since I get guaranteed crits sometimes, and I don't think he threw a single special attack, so aggression prowess was completely irrelevant. And I guess that's why this node, or actually this path section, is often not fully placed. Like I haven't actually had a full path 6 section 1 in quite some time. It's usually just the first fight. So next up we have an Anti-Venom with ebb and flow knockdown, right back at it, and aggression prowess. So this one is slightly more, I guess, harder than the previous ones, but it's still a pretty straightforward fight for Professor X. Main thing is he just goes debuffing you when you knock him down. So you might often see people use the Wags pre-fight for passive stuns, but it's really not necessary since you don't really rely on debuffs anyway. And his special 1 and heavy attack are both fairly easy to punish. So I am gonna knock him down a few times just as a consequence of me channeling to build my charges. But I don't have to knock him down, just need to hold the heavy, so I can utilize the falter to whiff pretty safely. Then once I get to 100 charges and 3 bars of power, just gotta knock him down one more time to remove the protection from ebb and flow. And yeah, hit the special 3 button, and now the fight is pretty much over. I also hold the heavy before the special 3 to get an additional prowess. So I get 3 out of this since I had 2 charges, and with the passive fury from ebb and flow knockdown, it does more than enough damage for me to get back to 3 bars of power. Then after the special 3 I dash back a bit since my falter isn't ready, just to be safe. And I didn't need to channel again for more prowesses, but I wanted to make sure this does take him out, just so I don't have to watch that special 3 animation one more time. But yeah, that is it for this one. And now we have some Mr. Negative gameplay. So today we have a hood on Power Snack. Usually I get a Mysterio here, like it's quite a common placement now with the Miss-tic tactic. I think I've had at least 4 Mysterios here so far, so hood is a nice change of pace I guess. But the fight is pretty much exactly the same whether it's hood or Mysterio. I do the exact same thing and he goes down in the exact same way. Maybe it's slightly faster for hood because I have class advantage, but otherwise it's a very standard fight with Mr. Negative at this stage. I build up most of my lights, if not all of it, through parrying. and then I do most of my hits when he has the Delirious debuff, so he doesn't gain as much power. So I can drop my special 2 before he even gets to 1 bar, which means no baiting special attacks, which means no dexing, which means no Miss-tic. Even though Negative can deal with that pretty well with these Evade Intercept. So that was a pretty standard No 22 fight for Negative. And now we have a No 25 Super Skrull, Crumbling Armor, Force of Will, Footloose, and Kinetic Transference. So this is the one fight so far that I was a little bit somewhat concerned about, at least compared to the others. Because I thought about the Miss-tic tactic and, Doom stealing his power gain if I can't really buff control him well enough, so I have to control my own buffs as well. Make sure I don't dex at the wrong time because I also need some power control with the buff control for Footloose and Kinetic Transference. And the special 3 does inflict a stun, so I wanted to make sure I have invulnerability boost plus the special 3 defense boost just to be extra safe. In case this fight just goes really badly for some reason, I take more than one, or he's throwing specials through my block, or I don't know, some other BS that could happen. But after throwing the special 3 at this stage, I thought the fight was a lot more secure, even without the perfect power steal, because with all these buffs and max dispersion I get to 3 bars again pretty quickly, and there's still plenty of time before the falter triggers, so one more special 3 should do it for this one. Alright, and now we're gonna move on to a fight that did not quite go as planned, mainly because I just didn't play very well towards the end. Made a few mistakes here and there, but it still ended really well. In fact, I probably got a little bit lucky in this one. So I usually like the Doom vs Sersi matchup, not as much as Tigra, but it's still a pretty good one. Because you can still manage her glancing mechanic pretty well with the stagger and the way you time your combos with the cooldown. But unfortunately there is still a little bit of reliance on AI cooperation at times if you want to get the perfect cycle. Otherwise you can just give her a chance to throw specials but not have to worry about the glancing. Yet I didn't do any of those things, so I started off pretty well. Just wanted to do the usual Doom rotation without worrying about intercepting. I didn't get a very good power steal out of the first special 3, but it didn't really matter because with max dispersion I can just parry heavy. And Doom's heavy attack will pretty much always hit hard enough to give her the glancing buff, but it also applies a stagger, so it just nullifies it. So I did a pretty good job of managing all that until my second special 2. I got my second Fury and she still hasn't glanced at all. And I even got the reparry, which doesn't always happen because she can just throw a heavy attack and then glance. But the mistake I made then was instead of just heavying after the parry, I did medium heavy, which triggered the glance because I had 2 Fury buffs at the time. And that's when the fight kind of went south. But it actually wasn't that bad, although it was a silly mistake from me. I should have just parry heavied, then drop another special 3 without her glancing, and one more cycle would have done it very nicely. But the glancing prevented me from power stealing, so she could have dropped a special 3 there, although fortunately she didn't. She actually just played into my parry, and then I could drop another special attack and finish off the fight. I was waiting for the glancing to fall off before dropping my special 1, but after it does I get to 2 bars of power because high dispersion and all those regen buffs. But the special 2 finished it off quite nicely. So we did get a bit lucky there, and now we're gonna move on to some more interesting ebb and flow intercept fights. So now we have a Sorcerer Supreme, a Miss-tic defender, with ebb and flow intercept and mighty charge, and we are back to Mr. Negative. So because she has mighty charge, she purifies debuffs or goes debuff immune whenever she dashes forward, which means the special 2 is not going to be very effective because those degen debuffs will get purified. So I'm going to be using the special 3 rotation for this one, which is something I've been doing quite a lot lately with Negative, just because I often run Path 5, so ebb and flow knows with right back at it or mighty charge. Special 3 is going to be a lot more effective than the special 2. So I get to 8 slight energy before I try to evade, and the evade is a counter attack, so it acts as an intercept. So now I get the ebb and flow fury, and now I can do a bit more damage while I build my special 3. And the cool thing about using a duped Negative against Sorcerer is he deals damage whenever he's immune to nullify. So if she has the aura up, she's gonna keep on taking some nice damage whenever you're near her. So she was already at 35% by the time I got to my special 3, so this will do a lot more than enough damage to take her out. I mean, just 1 tick was enough, although those are some pretty fat ticks with the ebb and flow fury. So I wasn't quite satisfied with that one because she went down very quickly after the special 3. But guess what, we get to do this one more time because next up we have a Sasquatch with ebb and flow intercept, mighty charge and crumbling armor. So the strategy is pretty much the same as the previous one. But because it's Sasquatch, a champ with a ridiculously high health pool, I'm gonna be evade intercepting a bit more during the fight so I can do more damage while building up, because he has about 233,000 health on this node, so I can't just rely on the special 3, or at least not just one special 3. So at least this way he'll be down to about 60% by the time I get there. And with negative, I can still dex or let buffs expire and still counter the miss tactic by evade intercepting. Or I can just wait it out. It doesn't really last long, and negative isn't really a champ who relies on being able to play aggressively. So now I've reached 3 bars of power and he triggers Wrath, so I'm just gonna play that out while building my last bit of light energy. I'm not even gonna hit him yet, I'm just gonna eventually get cornered, but negative is one of those champs who I actually kind of like being cornered with, because you can build a lot of energy fairly quickly in the corner, especially if the opponent is stun immune. And you can play around with the evade to get yourself out of it or just avoid getting hit. So I got to 16 dark energy and I was considering getting a bit more, but I thought he only has 60% now, so this should do a good amount and I can just take him out with basic hits afterwards. So just gotta watch that special 3 animation again, and I'm okay with that because this is actually one of my favorite special 3s in the game. And afterwards, the dark damage baby takes him down to 5%, so did about 95,000 health with 16 dark energy. Alright, so now we finally have the Ebony Maw boss, and once again we're gonna sort of cheese this fight with Professor X. He is a Miss-tic defender and Professor X does gain buffs, but it doesn't actually matter because at 25 charges you get a vigilance passive, so you just cannot miss, which kind of just nullifies the tactic. So I go in, I didn't have the best start, I kind of just messed up my heavy countering. It was a rather unnecessary risk. I could have just waited for the falter to be ready first, but I did have some invulnerability, although he dropped a full combo on me. But now the fight is pretty much locked in, so no more mistakes. I'm not gonna lose much health now, not even from the special 1 degen, because I'm just gonna bait special 2s. And one thing that surprised me is this is a rank 4 Ebony Maw boss, yet he doesn't have high Mystic Dispersion. So that made the fight a little bit easier, although I wasn't really worried about it because I was gonna bait special 2s anyway. So while my own falter is ready, I just heavy whiff to build charges fairly quickly. I also try to put some distance between us, so if he does throw a special 1, at least the first 2 hits can miss, then I can just avoid the rest of it. But now it's mind control time, so special 3, and now we get a good amount of power back to actually throw a couple of special 2s. Before we get to the eventual special 3 with all those prowesses building up. And my Professor X is rank 3 Sig 200, so I get a good amount of damage or extra prowess potency based on how much power the opponent has. But I don't really think it matters much because eventually you should just get back to 3 bars. You might just need to throw an extra special 2, but after that the fight is pretty much over. So yeah, that's gonna be it for this one. I hope you guys found this interesting, and as always, thank you for watching. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you soon.